whether John, took a different route or whatever, that's up to him, right? That, in terms of the storytelling.
Sure.
But in my mind, when I approached the character, I thought, okay, he's the lead character. Like, although he's more silent than, let's say, like a Johnny Cage, he's still the lead character, and let's treat him as such. Somebody spotted me and they said, oh, could I play against you? And I said, sure. So they put the quote in for me and I played against them and I lost. When I got the opportunity, I said, yeah, this feels like home. It's something I could do and something that I feel like I could excel at. I don't think they get enough credit for, imagine, like I said, there's only so many franchises that have ever lasted this long.
Welcome to another episode of Pick Up and Play. My name is DJ Switch, and as the DJ and MC for the Portland Retro Gaming Expo, I've been fortunate enough to be put in a position to interview some incredibly interesting and talented folks in and around the gaming community by way of this show, and today is no different. Last week, I got to interview Master Daniel Pesina, one of the original actors from Mortal Kombat responsible for bringing to life the characters of Johnny Cage, Scorpion, and Sub-Zero. This week, I was very lucky to have the opportunity to speak with the original Liu Kang himself, Mr. Ho-Sung Pak. Ho-Sung is not only an incredibly accomplished martial artist, but his entertainment career began with an offer to play Raphael in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 and 3. He played the villain in Jackie Chan's Legend of Drunken Master, and his credits include HBO's Westworld and one of my absolute favorite films in recent years, Bullet Train with Brad Pitt. I have to apologize to you viewers and listeners out there for the shorter episode today, but since Ho-Sung rarely conducts interviews like this, I was not only grateful for the opportunity to chat with him, but I was also grateful that we had such a wonderful time together. In fact, we had such a good time hanging out that he extended a very special offer exclusively for the folks who sign up at patreon.com/DJSwitchPDX to support the show and gain access to the extra content I've been recording for every episode of this podcast. Of course, my thanks to the Portland Retro Gaming Expo for their support of this show, and as always, a huge thank you to our sponsor Vault 31 Bar for their continued support as well. With that, it's my pleasure to present to you my interview with director, actor, stunt coordinator, martial artist, and Mortal Kombat alumni, Ho-Sung Pak. Ho-Sung Pak, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate you taking the time, man.
Happy to be here, Switch.
So, I was doing a little bit of prep work for this interview, and as I understand it, you don't do a lot of these kinds of interviews. Is that fair to
Correct.
say?
You don't see a whole lot of stuff out there if that's what you're asking about me doing interviews. I kind of just stayed away from doing interviews because I enjoy the privacy of my privacy. But I realize that people want to know things and updates and so on. So I'm happy to be here with you, and whatever questions you have, happy to answer.
Well, I certainly appreciate it, man, and I know not everybody is as much interested in the attention in the entertainment business that can sort of come with working in entertainment, but you've been doing this for quite a long time. You started in the late 80s, early 90s?
1990, yeah, to be exact. My first gig was the Turtles, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I don't know if you saw it, but
who are they?
So
you were Raphael in
yes.
in Ninja Turtles.
Yes, Ninja Turtles Part 2 with the one with Vanilla Ice, right? With Go Ninja Go. You look back and you're like, wow, that's still a pretty fun song, a pretty fun movie.
I've remixed that song so many times over the years, man. That's
that's awesome.
That's a classic.
So that was my first gig doing in the film industry. I got that because I was competing in martial arts, and the action director came and saw me at a tournament which I had won, and so he asked me, would you want to come be one of the Turtles? And I'm like, heck yeah.
How do you say no to that, man?
Yeah, exactly.
That's crazy.
So, I was in school, right? I was going for my master's in business.
Okay.
At the time at the University of Illinois in Champaign. And so I take a semester off. So I went to the school and said, I need to take a semester off because I'm doing this gig of the Turtles. And they're like, oh yeah, that sounds great. So I took the semester off and did the Turtles. And ever since then, it's kind of weird because I had not thought about the film industry at the time. But after being Raphael in the Turtles, I kind of got hooked on it, and I thought, you know what, this seems like a lot of fun, and you get paid for it. So I could make this a career. So I ended up finishing up my MBA, which is, what I promised my parents I would do.
Right.
And I should do that anyway, right? I think education is a good thing. And,
Yeah.
But from that point, I think I knew I wanted to pursue the film industry. So from that point on, whether it was stunts, acting, producing, behind the scenes, in front of the camera, doing hosting or other work, I've been involved in the entertainment industry since then.
Do you have a preference, do you find, between being in front of the camera or being behind the camera? Or do you lean towards one over the other?
It's funny that you asked that, because I was just at a meeting where a Korean group that I'm working with right now, might want me to start directing some stuff.
Oh, really?
That's in the future, probably like another year or two down the road.
Wow.
So I might start doing that. So, gosh, to answer your question, I mean, nobody likes anything equally, right? It's never 50-50 exactly.
Right.
I do like performing as of today. So I think if the question is posed today, whether it's acting or stunts or something in front of the camera, I would say that's it. If you probably ask me a couple years from now, it might switch to behind the camera. And, I learned a lot of different things behind the camera, like, for example, using the cameras, directing, action directing, choreography. And, they all have their place. And it's a really wonderful thing when a film comes together and everyone works well together. It's a wonderful process. Like when we did the Turtles, everyone, from the PA to the assistant directors, to the director, the actors, everybody really, came well together. And so I think that's why you end up making a really good film, because everybody, number one, cares. And then number two, everyone does work well together. That is quite important.
Getting to talk to Raphael is such an incredible honor. I was a childhood Turtles fan. Of course, I was obsessed with those movies when they came out. I never
That's so kind of you.
I never would have thought I would have had a chance to talk to someone who was in the suit, on the set, doing the thing. But then you
let
also
me say something about that.
Oh, sure.
About suit. So, a lot of people don't know the suit is like altogether about 40 pounds.
Yeah.
And after you're moving in it for a little bit, you're at like 120 plus degrees. You're just sweating. And you're just standing and doing nothing. And just sweat is coming out.
Yeah.
Probably on one of the harder days, I think I ended up drinking something of this nature. 6 cans of Coke, a 2-liter of Mountain Dew, and probably like 4 or 5 bottles of water, something like that, just to get through the morning into the afternoon.
Jeez.
And that was a hard day, but it was that hard in terms of trying to get, get yourself hydrated, first of all, and just the movement that you have to do and the sweat that you, I swear, I'm sweating like pounds a day. Of course, you get it back in the evening, but just pounds a day. Like if you need to lose weight, that would be the way to do it.
I'm a 6'4" ex-wrestler. And that sounds like a lot even for me. Like, I don't know if I can put away that much. I mean, you must have been really pouring it out to be able to fit all that liquid.
Yeah, in between like every take, they would come and get me something, and I was highlighting that scene. It was my fight scene where Raphael gets captured.
Yeah. Okay.
And it was just hard. Yeah.
Wow. Jeez.
Yeah.
And by the way, you better believe after this interview, I am definitely watching that movie tonight.
Oh, cool. Okay. Yeah.
But we obviously have a lot more to talk about. It's somewhere along the road in the mid 90s. You were in a little film called The Legend of Drunken Master.
Yes.
Which anybody
I appreciate you watching that.
Dude, anybody who's a Jackie Chan fan has to watch that movie. The thing is, I didn't recognize you. I didn't even realize. I never, when I watched it as a kid, I didn't really pay too much attention to who was in it. I was just there for the action and the awesome choreography and that kind of thing. So realizing all these years later that was you were the bad guy. And you full on, you didn't just have an epic fight scene. You had the epic fight scene in in my opinion, one of the most pivotal films in Jackie's career.
Yeah, correct. Because after that, he came to America to do a bunch of American films.
Super Cop and all that other stuff that came later.
Yeah, well, the Rumble in the Bronx came into like it had a U.S. release, right? So that
Mhm.
was the very next film, and then so on. He had the other American films. What was the Rush Hour and so on, right? And a bunch of other stuff. So what was interesting about that is how I got the role is from Turtles 3.
Oh,
So I was,
wow.
yeah, it was the director, Sifu Lao, is what I call him. He directed some of the most amazing kung fu films in the, I would say, 70s and 80s. And so he was to direct Drunken Master. In Asia, it was called Drunken Master 2. In America, it's called Legend of Drunken Master.
Oh, okay.
So he came out to help with some of the choreography for the Turtles. And I think at the same time, recruit somebody for the bad guy for the film. And so he really liked working with me, and I thought he was incredible. So he had asked me, I'd like to work with you in the future. And I'm like, yeah, that'd be great. So that was the film.
And then I don't want to, spend the entire podcast talking about your film and credits, because obviously, like, there's so much there, and we could absolutely spend hours talking about this stuff. But like, just to kind of shortcut to some of the more recent stuff that I saw on the IMDb page, you were in a film with what was that? What was the Bullet Train? You did some work on Bullet Train.
Yeah, just
with a little known actor named Brad Pitt, who no one's ever heard of.
So it's like stunts on some of the cool films or shows I did stunts on was like Transformers, Bullet Train, Westworld.
Yeah. Wow,
in fact,
God.
Westworld, the action director on Westworld was also the action director on Revenant, and an amazingly talented person.
Holy cow!
Revenant, cinematically speaking, is one of my favorite films.
Hey, you're talking about the Leo DiCaprio.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cinematically speaking, like that was gorgeous, right? It was amazing. So, you get a chance to work with all these people who have done amazing projects, get to kind of, see how they do things, how they operate, and how they collaborate with other people. So it's, besides just doing the shows themselves, I really do enjoy the process of getting to know the people and see their work and how they perform stuff.
Well, I mean, obviously, this interview today, we're talking. We're going to talk about Mortal Kombat and your trip to Portland, which is coming up in September. We're super excited to have you here in Portland with the rest of the cast of Mortal Kombat.
Yeah. So speaking of Portland,
real
quick, when we did Turtles 3, we did it in Seaside in Astoria, Oregon.
That's right.
Yeah. So I have great memories of Portland. In fact, a lot of the bad guys in the show came from Portland, and wonderful guys, just awesome people. We used to play basketball every weekend. We were working, I think, 6 day. Yeah, we were working 6-day weeks at the time.
Okay.
So either like after we filmed, we'd go play some basketball with them, or like on the weekends, we would, not weekends, it'd be just Sunday. Our Sunday was the only day off.
Hey, so quote unquote weekend of the one day you got every week. Yeah.
But yeah, wonderful people. So I look forward to going back to Portland because number one, I had a great time in Seaside and in Astoria. I only spent 1 day in Portland, but the people who I met there, awesome people.
Man, we can't wait to have you. We're so excited that you're coming. I want to dial it back a little bit though, because I saw in another interview that you did with another podcast, you were talking a little bit about growing up playing baseball and how that eventually led to you getting into some training, and then that's how you sort of started down the path of martial arts and studying. When you got into martial arts and you started winning tournaments and you started getting these achievements, did you ever think as you were training in those early days that you were going to get into entertainment, or did you have any interest at the time in getting into choreo or stunts?
What's interesting is I was just thinking at the time, just competing, right? And doing well. I wanted to be in my mind, like the number one martial artist in America, right? That was my goal. So I think,
and you got there.
That time, and so at the time, I was very fortunate. I had a great career. Got inducted into Black Belt Hall of Fame and won a bunch of different tournaments in North America. I was the first person to win the Triple Crown, which was 3 major tournaments in America: the Diamond Nationals, U.S. Open, and the Battle of Atlanta. First person to do it. Since then, people have done it, but I was the first one.
Jeez.
But in terms of like for entertainment, in my mind, as I competed and my martial arts, I thought was at a certain level. I thought to myself, I could do the stuff that they do on films, right? It's not that difficult. Like I practice hard. I could do this stuff. And then when I got the opportunity, I said, yeah, this feels like home. It's something I could do and something that I feel like I could excel at.
Folks, this episode has once again been sponsored by my friends at Vault 31 Bar. Just 10 minutes north of the Portland airport, Vault 31 is a video game themed bar built for absolutely everyone who loves gaming and geek culture. They offer an incredible selection of beverages and signature cocktails alongside tons of PC and console games available to play. Recently, I had a chance to sit down with David from Vault 31 Bar, who provided the latest update on their remodel and their upcoming all-ages cafe space.
Our walk-in just got here, which is one of our biggest issues we've had with the bar already, is we just don't have enough cold storage.
You were like running out of stuff all the time, and that's because
all the time. Yeah, it's the cafe solves a lot of our issues, and our biggest thing is we've outgrown our little fishbowl, so to speak. We did a huge kitchen remodel that we did not anticipate being as successful as it was. Like we created these little burgers, and they're flying out of here. People complain that we run out of stuff too fast, is because we just simply can't store enough of it. And so this fixes that now. And so the popularity of the burgers will hopefully continue, and we'll be able to sling these things out in larger quantities.
In addition to being an amazing and welcoming geeky culture space, Vault 31 has also become the home of my monthly Lo-Fi VGM event. And this weekend was our best Lo-Fi evening yet. The Lo-Fi event has been a big hit, and I truly think part of the reason for that success is that I picked the right venue. We've had giveaways courtesy of Kuraga Records, and the team at Vault 31 has even gone so far as to cook up some food specials to fit the theme of the night. If you want to find out more about Vault 31 and what they have going on in the coming months, well, I'll let David tell you the best way to do that. Listen, David, where can people follow Vault 31 Bar on socials? Like, where can people find you? Like, how does that work?
We're Vault 31 Bar and everything. Best thing to do is actually just go to vault31bar.com. It's going to link you to our social. It's going to link you to our Discord. We have an awesome Discord community. You'll see updates on there, all kinds of fun stuff. Yeah, head to the website. I know it's a little old school, but it's like our link tree or whatever people use nowadays.
Thanks, David, and thank you for everything you've done for this show. Now, back to the interview. Was this out of Chicago? Like, is that where you
Correct.
originally met the Mortal Kombat guys, Ed, John, Dan?
Right. So I trained with Dan like way before that. Me, Dan, Tony, who plays Kung Lao, Carlos, his brother, who plays Raiden, and my brother. So we trained together for many years before that. I got Danny and Rich, the Vizio, who plays Kano, on as bad guys in Turtles 2. So when you see some of the foot soldiers in Turtles 2, some of them are Danny plays some of them and Rich plays some of them. Just so you know. And yeah, then in terms of us, I met John Tobias during the game, and I think he wanted me to be a part of the game because he knew that we did the Turtles, and he thought it'd be kind of cool. And I felt like in terms of my character, I felt like it was a good choice for my character to play Liu Kang, and I felt like I embodied the character pretty well. Like I was like, I did a good job in that character.
I would agree with that. Yes, you did do a very good job.
I appreciate that.
But as you were sort of creating that character and you were creating the idea behind that, did you see Liu Kang as the sort of standout hero character that he ended up becoming in the film? Was that always sort of the plan for him?
Yes. Well, in my mind, I thought of it as like he's the lead character, right, of the video game. Whether John, took a different route or whatever, that's up to him, right? In terms of the storytelling. Sure. But in my mind, when I approached the character, I thought, okay, he's the lead character. Like, although he's more silent than, let's say, like a Johnny Cage, he's still the lead character, and let's treat him as such.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and Liu Kang, this character that you effectively brought to life, has gone on to become one of the most central characters of the entire franchise. I mean, they built the movie around it, they built the animated series around him. Obviously he had an incredible role in Mortal Kombat 2, which I if I recall correctly, you also played him in Mortal Kombat 2, right?
Yes. So in MK, you would never think for a million years that this franchise would last this long.
Yeah.
Right. If you think about the number of franchises that have lasted many, many decades, you're talking like Star Wars, Star Trek, the Turtles, maybe Power Rangers, MK, and probably a few others that I'm missing. But,
Sure.
You're talking of maybe a handful of IPs, right, that made it this far. So to be a part of it, it really is incredible. To be a part of it with John, Ed, Dan, Carlos, Rich, Liz, us being the original people that took it from MK1 forward. It's just, it is, number one, it's kind of mind boggling. But number two, the fans that appreciate the work and supports it, I'm forever grateful with that. So, yeah, you would never think that it would have lasted this long. I'm thankful and grateful it has.
What's your relationship with the franchise look like right now? Are you still tied in with anything that's going on with Mortal Kombat? Do you still have a relationship with Ed or John?
Yeah, only the fact that I do communicate with basically everybody, John, Ed, Dan, Rich,
Okay.
Tony, Carlos, and some of the other guys. Actually, those are the main guys. In fact, when I talked to Ed, this was a little while ago, because we're talking about some of the behind the scenes footage to possibly be released. We were talking about. I let him know, that number one, that it's amazing it lasted this long, and number two, that I'm very thankful that for John and Ed for number one picking me to portray the original Liu Kang, number one, and number two to trusting me that I could do a good job with it, and here we are, amazingly. What is it? 30 years? 30? Is it? 34 years?
30, 32.
Oh my God.
32
so
years.
Yeah. Amazingly 30. Yeah. 32 years later. I think, you're right. Cause we did it in 90. I think actually the first one we did in 91 in terms of actually the game itself. I think it came out in 92.
Yeah.
But,
I think you're right. I think it was released 92, but I think a lot of that principal photography stuff you guys did was in 91.
91. Yeah. Amazingly, 33 years later. Wow. So forever thankful to John and Ed.
Wow. And that's so nice to hear that you still have a good relationship there, and that that things are.
Oh yeah, John is awesome.
Yeah.
Number one, let me say it like this. I don't think they get enough credit for, imagine, like I said, there's only so many franchises that have ever lasted this long.
Yeah.
And so you would think that John and Ed would get a lot more credit for coming up with something so amazing.
So along that line,
that would be my
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but just to reinforce your point, along that same line, I just got done interviewing Daniel Pesina, and in prep for that interview, one of the things that I found was a list of the 100 most profitable franchises of all time. Okay. And Mortal Kombat is absolutely on that list at just over 5 billion lifetime.
That's amazing.
Between all of the movies, all of the shows, all of the games, all of the merchandising, the toys and everything, it's sort of like an all over combined. I think it was at like 5.09 billion.
But imagine how many coins that kids put into that. That probably does not count, right? Because that probably you're looking at the number of units sold and so on, not the number of quarters, because I don't know, there aren't that many other franchises in this world, I'm trying to think right now, that sucked up so many quarters from kids. Yeah. That's not counted in this revenue process. But imagine all the arcade owners, how much they made from the kids. That's not counted on this, right?
And you're absolutely right. And it's funny because, when I was a little kid, in the late 80s and early 90s, my little sister had ice skating lessons. And so I would go to the mall with my mom and my sister on a Saturday morning so that my sister could have her 9 a.m. ice skating lesson. And instead of sitting there bored, I would go find the arcade. And sure enough, I would walk in the front of that arcade, and the first machine that you saw was Mortal Kombat 2. They put it front and center for a reason, because that sucker was a draw. Everybody wanted to play Mortal Kombat 2. In there. Yeah. Everybody wanted to play Mortal Kombat, man. And that's, like, to this day, I think that's part of the reason why it's had such longevity and why it's still, I mean, heck, it's why you and I are having this conversation now,
Right.
because Mortal Kombat is still such an incredible piece of video game history. It's
Right.
still such an incredible franchise. Say what you will about individual games or whether you like one more than the other, whatever. The fact remains, Mortal Kombat is huge, man. And you were there at the very, very beginning, establishing one of the most central characters for that franchise. So like, it's honestly just incredible to be able to talk to you. It's incredible to be able to tell you, like,
I appreciate that.
You had such an incredible impact on my childhood, and I'm so grateful for the work that you did. And I just want to say thank you.
Well, you know what's funny? When I went to the arcade, I wish I had met you at the arcade and we could play some of the games together. But I remember I was going to see a movie and somebody spotted me and they said, "Oh, could I play against you?" And I said, "Sure." So they put the code in for me and I played against them and I lost. These kids were really good, right? I'm a mediocre player.
Sure.
And I was about to leave. And then the next person's like, no, can I play against you? So I stood there, I think for 30 minutes as you know, the film was about to start. I'm like, guys, I do have to go. But there was a line, literally, I think it must have been like 50 plus people deep that wanted to play that I could not play afterwards because
somebody saw you.
I had to go see the movie. So it goes to show you at the time the power of Mortal Kombat and the number of quarters it sucked up, right? For the people that I could not play at that time, sorry guys, I had to go see the movie, but at least I'm saying that now.
But it's incredible, even at the time, man, because video games back then, you know, the time period we're talking about, the mid-90s, video games were on the rise, but they still were not anything compared to what they are now, right? So, to have a level of celebrity to where you get recognized and all, like, were they asking you for autographs? Were they asking you for selfies? No, they were asking you, like, hey, man, can we pop a quarter in and play against you?
Right. What was amazing is, you know, they're so into the game that, number one, they knew who I was. And then they wanted to play against me. Like, their only dream was to play against me. And of course, I beat some of them, or actually I beat a good chunk of them, and I lost to some of them. But whether, you know, win or lose, I'm sure they had a great time.
So I haven't said anything. This is the first time I'm saying anything publicly, but I'll go ahead and break it here. I will probably be bringing an arcade 1-up Mortal Kombat machine.
Nice.
And so I'll bribe whoever I have to have y'all sign it, because
great.
Yeah, I would love to get that thing signed. I need to put it together. It's still in the box.
Happy to do it.
But I'll bring it with me to the
we'll find a game. We'll play a game together. How's that?
If I can, I will let you know, like, my role at the Retro Game Expo as the DJ, like, I don't get a lot of time away from the turntables. Because I'm there as the DJ, but I'm also the MC, so I have to make sure that I'm available if something comes up and I need to pull myself away to jump on a microphone. Lost kid, that kind of thing, you know.
Sure, maybe at the end of the show we'll figure something out.
That would be so incredible. But you know, whether it happens or not, man, I'm so glad that you're coming to Portland. I'm so excited that, you know, we're gonna have the whole team. We're gonna have everybody from the original Mortal Kombat cast that's gonna be there in person at the Portland Retro Gaming Expo. And Ho-Sung, thank you so much for taking the time to do this today and to hang out with me. I really truly appreciate it.
Yeah. Looking forward to seeing you there. It'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Was there, now, before we go, was there anything else that you wanted to maybe mention? Is there a social media somewhere where someone can follow you, kind of, check out what you've got going on?
I don't do much social media, but I just started maybe 6 months ago, Instagram.
Okay.
I am on Facebook, so I don't really post much there. I post, I think I've posted 4 things or 6 things on Instagram. But one of the videos is kind of cool. Like, we made it at an event, and the guy who made it did a really good job. So if you guys want to catch my Instagram and check out the video, cool little video. In terms of social media, not too much, but Instagram for Ho-Sung, it's under Ho-Sung Pak. Okay. If you guys want to add me or follow me on there. I'll try to post more stuff. I say that all the time. I'll try to do more and more. Just haven't got around to it, but I will.
If you're busy working on blockbuster films and having an incredible career in Hollywood, like, I feel like that's a solid enough excuse to not be posting on Instagram.
So I don't know if your audience likes Korean dramas, but K dramas is what they call it. But I started watching K dramas during the pandemic. Right, we had
Okay.
nothing to do.
Okay.
And so I started watching K dramas, and I thought to myself, God, I want to work on some of these shows or work with them.
Yeah.
So finally, that happened, and we're going to do I'm working with a Korean group to do films in America and in Korea in the future. So I'll probably start posting some of that stuff maybe on Instagram as we go along. But for those K drama fans, I will have some of the stuff when I go to Korea. I'm hoping to do Korea maybe early next year, but we're planning to do some films with the Korean group here in America this year.
Amazing.
So it'll be a lot of fun. Yeah.
I had a friend in college that turned me on to a couple of Korean films, and then and I really enjoyed them.
They're amazing. Like, for example, there's a show called Kingdom, right, on Netflix, which is great. There's obviously everyone's heard of Squid Games, and Squid Games is good, but there are a bunch of other really amazing Korean dramas and Korean films. Like there's a Train to Busan that's a really well-made movie, and there's something called Roaring Current, which is a story about an amazing Korean admiral who, with I believe 13 ships, defeated 300 Japanese ships.
Wow.
If I remember this correctly. This is back in like 1592. An amazing story.
Oh, wow. That's crazy. Wow.
Yeah. Like who would have ever thought 13 ships could defeat 300? This guy did it.
And so many American films and American TV properties come from real stories from our own history. Of course, it stands to reason that Korean filmmakers would be pulling stories from Korean history. And I'm sure there's just a wealth of really interesting, really captivating stories to tell there. I'm super glad.
You are absolutely right.
I'm so glad that film industry in Korea is starting to pick up speed and is starting to catch on here in America. Cause I know from working in the music industry for most of my career that the American market is notoriously difficult.
You're absolutely right. Yes.
For folks overseas,
it's not easy.
The UK wave of the 60s and 70s notwithstanding, for a lot of folks that outside of the UK have had a terribly difficult time breaking into the American music market. And of course, with the film industry, it's the exact same thing. The American film industry likes American films. And if you're not an American filmmaker, it is very, very difficult to catch the attention of the American audience. And I'm so glad that we are in an age now, thanks to the internet, thanks to online communities, where something, even like a Squid Games, I mean, Squid Games was fantastic, but if it had been made 5 years sooner, would it have had the same impact that it did?
No,
we'll never
you're
know.
Absolutely right. The timing was perfect on that. Yeah. Correct. I agree with you. The timing was perfect because of social media and other things. You can get Korean films to do really well in America, or Korean dramas in this case. So very appreciative of that. And I hope people. Because of BTS, music-wise, I'm sure you would know BTS, and because like Blackpink, right?
Sure.
I think the American audience or worldwide audience gets a little taste of the Korean culture, and the Korean culture, of course, loves America too. So hopefully, there's more integration of that in the future. And we're hoping to do some of that.
Gen Z and especially Gen Alpha are all about that K-pop life.
That's right.
And I think the cultures have integrated, especially with the younger folks, in a way that I never saw. I never would have expected would have happened, and I'm super excited to see where it goes.
Me too. Yeah, I am too. The future is so bright.
Yeah, I completely agree. Ho-Sung Pak, thank you so much for taking the time today to hang out with me. I really, really appreciate it.
Sure. I had a great time. Hope we play the game there, and we'll have a good time in Portland.
I can't wait to see you in Portland. Thanks so much.
All right. Take care.
I hope you enjoyed this interview with Ho-Sung Pak. And if you want to order a printed headshot or any signed merch directly from Ho-Sung himself, I'll have a link for that in the show notes and description of this episode. Of course, my biggest thank you to the Portland Retro Gaming Expo and our sponsor, Vault 31 Bar, for making this show happen. Last but not least, Don't forget, we have something very, very special, specifically from this episode and from Ho-Sung himself. Something I did not ask him for, but he was very generous in offering just for the Patreon folks. And if you want to find out what's going on there, you got to go to patreon.com/DJSwitchPDX. Sign up, support the show, get access to all of the lost level content for every single episode of this show that I've recorded so far. And you'd be doing me a huge favor supporting this show and helping me to pay for all the tools and software that I use to create this show, because absolutely everything is above board. Nothing is pirated. Everything's paid for. And that stuff's expensive, y'all. I had such an incredible time getting to hang out with Ho-Sung, and I cannot wait to meet him in person come September at the Portland Retro Gaming Expo, when he and all of the original cast of the Mortal Kombat will be joining us for the Portland Retro Gaming Expo. That's September 27th through the 29th. I will see you there. Turntables in tow, records in hand. I will be there making all the noise, just like I do every single year. And I cannot wait for this year's Portland Retro Gaming Expo. So I'm looking forward to that. And until then, I will see you next week with my next interview in my Mortal Kombat series, Carlos Pacina, Daniel Pacina's little brother. I have the interview recorded. It's ready to go, and I will have that ready for you all next week. Thank you so much for watching / listening, and I'll see you then. Bye-bye.